So let's say hi to Katie. Good morning, Katie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Now, Katie and I met during an Andy Grammer MYstage. And Andy Grammer has this thing where he calls people up on stage and does a song about them, like a spoken word song. And you raised your hand because you had something you wanted to talk about. And he pulled you out of the audience. Did you freak out at that point?
A little bit, but I'm used to talking in front of crowds and stuff. My mom was the one that like slapped my arm and was like, no, go up there and stuff. So I wasn't really expecting it. And I almost didn't go actually because I'm an AP student. And so missing school is like,
Right. You should not have even been here.
Yeah.
You
on
ditched.
that non-school day.
Yeah. So
Worth it though.
Yeah.
So worth it.
And then so I was like, oh, I almost didn't come.
Yeah.
And then all that happened, so I'm happy I went. But I was fine until then when he started singing, I started getting like,
I thought you did great, by the way.
Thank you.
Kevin and Jill, you guys have not seen that video yet.
No.
And a lot of Katie's story you may not know, so we're going to bring Katie into the show now in this respect. You're 15?
Yes.
15 years of age. And I'll let you give the headlines of your story, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into your story. So let them know what you talked about when you walked up on stage.
So basically, I am recovering from anorexia. And so it was just a lot of every single part of my life kind of just like fell apart at the same time. It was like a perfect storm kind of thing. And so I talked about how I'm grateful for it because it's taught me that like life is so precious and like you kind of have to. I always ask myself, if I died tomorrow, would I be happy with who I am today? And like that's kind of something that this experience has taught me. Like you have to kind of, so that's what I talked about. That
And
was
you're
the main
15.
thing.
She's 15.
That's a heck of an outlook for a
I'm-
15-year-old. That's wise beyond my years.
I know. And as soon as I heard you up there talking about your story, I said, we have to have this young lady on the air.
I thought you were kidding.
No, I wasn't.
And
You
then
really thought I was kidding about that?
I thought you were kidding. And then afterward, when Brian came up to me, I was like, oh, you were serious? I didn't think, yeah. So. Well, thank you for having me here.
Well, we're so excited to have you because your story is powerful. So I think for a lot of young boys and young girls listening, they'll take something from your story today. And I think that people my age, 50 and 36, 35, will all take something special from your story. And I like the way I kind of painted it in my head this morning when I was getting ready for the show and thinking about you. I think I can. I know I can. Because I'm sure you had so much doubt in your life. Could you recover? Could you go forward? Yeah. So let's go back to kind of the beginning. When did things kind of start for you, the eating disorder of anorexia?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm a junior in high school. So just getting that out there.
Yeah.
I'd say it was like the end of my 8th grade year and then into my freshman year. It was like that summer was really, really bad.
Right.
Like there was so much happening at the time. And I do want to like clarify the fact that like I don't claim to be completely recovered. Like I definitely still have a long way to go. There's bad days, bad weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I think everyone has that, but I don't want to make sure everyone knows that.
No, please,
and I think the other reason that I wanted to like do this is because there's so much like stereotype about it that I definitely wanted to talk about that. So for me, there was a lot. Well, I talked about it at the Andy Grammer, but you guys didn't see that, so
Right.
Yeah, tell us, please.
so I did gymnastics for about 5 years, and I was on a competitive team, and I wasn't like that great. So I wasn't like super high level or anything, but I was like decent. And so on my last year there, I had gotten to a decent, like this level that I switched coaches.
Okay.
And so this new coach that I had, for some reason, like really didn't like me. Like, I don't know why. Like he just really, like we never got into a fight or anything. He just really didn't like me. And so there was a lot that happened there. He was very, and I feel bad for him almost, but he was very rude and like he made it, and it wasn't about gymnastics. It was like a personal thing. He would tell me like, you're not going to go anywhere with your life. Like I have no respect for you.
Oh
And
my
like
gosh.
I would hear this every day.
And you were how old?
I was maybe 13 at the time.
What a monster.
And so at the same time that this was happening, all those girls on my gymnastics team also went to my school. And so they like, I think that they kind of like took it as a model. And so I had it coming. Yes.
That's horrible.
So I had it coming from every single direction.
Right.
It was happening at school. There were things going on social media. It was just a lot. And that wasn't even the worst part of it. It was that I had a lot of family things and like household things happening at the time. And so it just was in like so much was happening.
Did you feel like it was coming from all sides?
Oh,
and you couldn't find any relief?
Yeah. I mean, my like household life has never been like super stable, but it just all fell apart at once. And so my self-esteem just went way down.
And you're 13 years of age at this
Yeah.
point. And you don't know how to handle that. No, I mean,
my gosh.
I don't know how to handle some of that stuff when I'm 50. So at 13, I can't imagine the pressure being on you.
It was
And you highlighted something that, and I don't want to interrupt the story, but I want to point out the trickle-down effect is what I talk about. You mentioned how your coach was, being so hostile to you and being so mean and everything. And the other teammates then saw that as acceptable behavior. So they saw a person of power causing you that grief. They deemed that acceptable behavior because this is an adult doing it. And to me, that's the trickle-down effect where people see, oh, this person does it, so this must be the right thing to do. Whereas if that person had acted with generous spirit and was kind, that's what they see. So kids model themselves after adults in their lives. And I feel bad that, we can kind of look at it like a catalyst right there, that he caused these other girls to be mean to you. And then you dealt with, I assume, the social media bullying, like you were saying, in-school bullying.
I love the fact that you just said it was the catalyst because I like poetry. And so I did write a poem where I called him my catalyst.
Yeah.
And so that was perfect. So, I think I also know a lot of the girls that were being rude and like things like that, they were like some of my closest friends.
Right.
And so I know for one of those girls that she was like, had some internal struggle with like things in her life.
She was dealing with stuff herself too.
I knew that.
Right.
And so at the time it didn't help, but now looking back at it, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like this man who I still see a lot because he lives in my town. So I run into him. How bitter and like how awful like must you feel about yourself to have to like
treat
do
others that way.
Especially because he had a sense of what was happening at my home life.
Right.
And he still kind of, so I
Unreal.
think that, it was.
Were there ever any repercussions for this guy?
No, he,
Is he still teaching gymnastics?
yes, he still works there. I have friends, I think most of my friends that I still talk to, have quit by now.
Okay.
But at the time I had quit and my friends were still there, and they were telling me like, no, yeah, he got like mean when after you left, because at the time, he would like pull me to the side and like, and he's a really he's a really big guy.
Okay.
Like he's not like big, but he's tall. He's very tall, so he like towers over me.
Okay.
So it was really intimidating, and he would like pull me to the side in the corner and like talk
Just
to me.
berate you.
Yeah, and like so. My teammates would ask me like, oh, what did he say? And I would like kind of tell them, and they would say, oh, he didn't say that. Like they didn't really believe me because he wasn't like that to anyone else. So I guess after I left, he started being kind of rude, and then people were coming up to me like, oh, I get what you mean now. Like he was.
They understood what you went through.
Yeah, and then my other friends who were kind of witnessed some of it, they were like, oh no, you're still like the worst case that there's been in that gym.
That frustrates me so much. I don't know the guy, but having coached my kids, soccer teams and stuff, just like assistant coach. I was never a head coach.
Yeah, he was the head coach.
Right. So he calls the shots, and you see as a parent, you see different coaches coaching your kid through the years and stuff. And sometimes as parents, we make the mistake. And I'm not saying this might have been your case, but maybe it was. I don't know. We think that sometimes, he's just being tough. My kid needs to have that tough coach. They're going to have to scream at them now and then and stuff. But there's being a tough coach and there's being wrong.
There's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we have to be able to recognize that as parents and hear that from our kids when things like that happen. Are you still in gymnastics, or did that sour you on the sport?
No, I actually I quit and I did dance. So I'm doing dance now,
good.
which is so much better. I love it so much. It's really
good
great.
for you.
And I don't have the time anymore to be on
You're a busy kid. You're a busy kid. You're doing radio shows. There you are.
Yeah, I'm focusing now on things that I want to do and things like that. And this is definitely one of those
speak
things.
to us how this led to the anorexia, and when did you recognize early on that you had a problem? Because I think sometimes when people are faced with things like that, they know it somewhere inside of themselves, but they don't want to solve it today.
I think, so for me, this goes into stereotyping too.
Okay.
For me, I think that people think of anorexia, and I do want to say there are definitely other types of eating disorders, like it's not just anorexia, but I think people think of anorexia and they go, oh, it's like a white teenage girl who wants to be skinny. And I'm a white teenage girl, but that wasn't my issue. That wasn't what I wanted. for me, it started with exercise, actually. It started with like an obsession with like being healthy and exercising.
Right.
And that also, my dad is a diabetic. So I've always kind of been around like that healthy lifestyle.
Right.
So that definitely, not that I'm saying it's his fault at all. Not at all. But
No.
I grew
You're just
up
being,
in
you're
that.
cognizant of
Exactly.
being healthy because diabetes may run in the family. That's smart.
Yes. So so I kind of grew up with that. And after I quit, my parents were like, oh, well, you need to make sure that you get like exercise because you're not. So for me, there was so much happening, especially like in my home life, that I was like, I need something to do. So I would go in my room and I would just exercise and exercise and exercise. But it was to a point where it would be like 12 o'clock at night and I would be like anxious and I'd be like, oh, I need to go do something. And it was really unhealthy the way that I was doing it.
That's too much.
Exactly. And so it went from there into like, I need to eat only healthy foods. And then it went to, oh, well, this isn't healthy, so I need to cut it out completely. And then it was just more and more like, oh, well, that's not healthy either, until like no food was better than something.
Okay.
So I before not the catalyst, but I guess like the turning point in that issue was I passed out one night. And so a few days before that, I had been like, okay, I think something might be wrong. Like this doesn't, like I'm miserable. Like this isn't right. But I passed out and my parents found out. The first time I passed out twice. The first time I passed out, I did not have to go to the hospital, but they said, you're going to get help. You need to get help. And for a week and even into the first couple weeks of seeing a therapist, I was like, I'm fine. I can eat all this stuff. And then I was fine. I was like totally, completely acted like I was recovered for like 3 weeks. And then I passed out again because I don't even really remember what happened. I think I went to a party and like I just stopped. Like I don't know what happened with that, but I passed out again. And this time I did have to go to the hospital.
Okay.
During that time, did you believe that you were fine? Or were you just trying to show everybody else, I'm good, guys, I'm good?
I think it was more of I was showing everyone else because I have grown up more. I grew up faster than I had to, I think, or I had to grow up faster than most people. And I think that I've been really independent from a very young age. And I'm the type of person that I will like lay down on the line for everyone else, but I don't take care of myself.
Right.
And so I was just like trying to convince everyone like I'm fine, everything's okay.
You don't want them to worry.
Yes. And like money was a big issue. So I didn't want them to pay for the therapy.
For the hospital and the therapy,
Yeah.
et cetera.
And so I was like, oh no, I'm fine. But I have an amazing, amazing team of, I call them my A team because their names, it's Amy and Alexis. And they saw right through me. They were like, no, you're not okay. And so I've been seeing my therapist and I'm like, I used to be so ashamed of having to go to therapy and now I'm like, no, like she is definitely one of the reasons that I'm
And everyone should be going to therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
therapy's a good
definitely.
thing. All three of us have been in therapy or in therapy, at some point in our lives here.
So I used to be like super like ashamed of everything
Yeah.
and now I'm like, no, like I go to see a therapist. She's really
schools,
cool.
Right.
A lot of schools have a nurse. I feel like they should have a therapist too, like for mental health as well as physical health, so that kids don't see
course.
it as something to be ashamed of.
No, I
For
think it's a great
sure.
idea.
But I credit myself more than anything for getting where I am, but I do credit my A team for being
there to
for me.
support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you talked about, and I see this in people in my life too, and sometimes with Jill, this is something I've said to you before, and I love you dearly, but she's one of the sweetest people and cares about other people so much more than herself sometimes, and she takes care of herself. She's in a really good spot in her life and everything. But when you're on an airplane and that oxygen mask drops down, what do they tell you?
They tell you to put yours on first.
You can't take care of somebody else if you don't take care of yourself.
You can't pour from an empty cup. It's something I think all of us kind of are still learning to.
Of course.
Because society kind of tells you that it's selfish to take care of, we promote just like caring for others. And
which is great.
Amazing. My job is special needs. That's where I work. Like, I love helping other
You
people.
have a job?
I had 2 in the summer, and then I ended up not
Okay,
one
like
of them.
summertime jobs. Okay.
Mhm. And so I had the one in Westlake, but I live in Camarillo, and so it was
Okay.
kind of a little far.
Right.
So, but I'm trying to find one in Camarillo.
And you were helping out people with special needs?
Oh yeah, and
Okay,
I've been
that's
doing that
awesome.
for years. Like, I love helping people. I want to get into the environment. I want to get into environmental things. I want to help. I'm in charge. I'm partly in charge of a club at my school that donates to homeless. Like, I love helping people. I think that's such a great thing. But you can't put everyone else before yourself.
No.
Because if you do that, you're not going to have anything to give.
Well, you won't be there for them. Eventually,
Exactly,
everything
yeah.
builds up, and I'm sure you've already learned this in therapy. It sounds like you really have.
Yeah.
Things build up, and then you can't help other people
For
if you have
sure.
no strength yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about something on the air recently where you have to love the person that you see in the mirror. And that person in the mirror is you. And if you don't love that person, there's only so much you can do in life. So now let's leap forward. How are you today? You said you're recovering.
Yeah, I think
There's good days and bad days.
there's good days and bad days.
Sure.
I'm having a lot more good days than bad days, though, which
That's
is
awesome.
really great. I took myself out of the environment that I was in. I mean, there's some things that I can't change, and I know that. My dad has a lot of health issues.
Yeah.
And so I think the other thing that happened...
That weighs on you. You're
well,
a young lady.
He almost died, and
Oh,
I
I'm
was the
sorry.
one that found him.
Oh my God.
That was really hard. And
Oh.
that also led to
Did
the
you save
whole...
him by finding him?
Yes, that was the whole thing.
And this is your
that-
dad that we met out here
Yes,
today?
yes.
Okay.
That was
Mark.
the whole thing that was another thing where I was like, I need to be in control. I need to like eat certain things, like things
Right.
like that. And so there's a lot of that I know that I can't change things with, like
Right.
household, my family. Like there's
Right.
things with that, like things are unconventional, and I can't change that.
Okay.
But I took myself out of the situation where I have like toxic people in my life, and now I have so many amazing friends that I'm so grateful for. And that I could be open with, and they know about this and
Right.
things like that.
Right.
So I think that I am doing a lot better. I don't think my life is in danger. I don't think that anything like that. Like, I don't think I'm a danger to myself or anything,
Right.
because there was a time when I definitely was. But yeah, there's definitely still bad days. I think everyone has them. And for me, my bad days just manifest themselves into I don't want to eat. Like, I just don't want to take care of myself. And so, yeah, I think that it's recovery. My therapist always says recovery is not a straight line. Recovery is in anything, not just
Right,
eating disorders.
right.
In anything, like recovery is you're gonna walk backwards on Legos into
Sure.
a wall, and like it's hard, and I don't know if you really ever truly recover completely. Like, I think there's
I don't
always
think so.
going to be bad days.
Yeah.
But it's about learning how to live your life even with that, I think. So I'm living with it now.
Well, I think, like you say, anybody that faces any type of addiction, get off me. I got tears in my eyes. Go back to her.
Talk to the camera.
I'm talking to the camera. Sorry. Anybody that faces any type of addictions, these demons never go away in certain respects. You learn how to handle them.
Yeah.
You learn how to put them in their place and cage them in, so to speak, maybe, if that's the right term.
And live one day at a time. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
for
can't
sure.
see that big
And
picture. Like,
tomorrow-
I'm cured.
Tomorrow's promised to no one. So you live for the day, you seize the day, and you're in the moment, and you are such a good kid. We're like so proud to meet you and see you and talk to you, and we know you're going to do great things. And, Kevin's got a daughter, Molly. I don't have a daughter, but I'm looking at you and I go, oh my God, this is such a blessing, this young lady here. Such a great kid that's going to go so far that is just, you can tell when somebody's a good person.
Yeah.
And you're a good
You're an
person.
impressive human being.
You know?
Yeah.
You really are.
Thank you.
And to recognize early on about getting those toxic friends out of your life, because I think it's kind of the norm too, where you just feel like, oh yeah, growing up, you're going to have those mean girls, those mean boys, and you just kind of have to you just put up with it. You don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to.
You don't have to put yourself in a situation where you don't feel safe, or you don't feel stable, or you don't feel loved. Like, that should never be a thing. And I think, as Kevin said, like living one day at a time. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen
Right.
tomorrow or
Yeah.
in a year.
None of us do.
And I think, like what I said before, and this is literally the thing that I ask myself all the time, and this got me out of my bad place, is if I were to die tomorrow, would I be happy with who I am today? That is something that I live by now. And for me, I try and do all these things and people are like, oh, you're so young. Like, don't,
Right.
like you have so much time.
Right.
And we do, and we have to live like we're going to have that time, but also keep in mind that things happen and that you should never waste your life trying to fit into someone else's mold or trying to be what someone wants you to be or trying to act on someone else's actions. You just have to, you really have to live for yourself because that's time that you can never get back.
Well, that's your life. I also, though, as a 50-year-old in the room, I do want to remind you, and you're talking about you've got big things and big plans and you want to do things, and tomorrow really is promised to no one. But let yourself be a kid too. I'm letting myself be a kid at 50 where you don't find me in the afternoon when my kid's still in school and I haven't picked him up yet, where I'm sitting there with my bag of chips watching, what was that one I told you about? McGruber or whatever it was?
That's a weird reference. Probably don't, that's an older
don't look
movie.
that up. Anyway, it's the movie Kevin had told me about.
Fortnite. Let's say you're playing
Fortnite, whatever, just...
No.
Yes. No.
does
Fine, we
though.
can
He
disagree
does.
on Fortnite, okay? I'm Fenway Dog in Fortnite. Find me. Dog with a W. So, yeah, you have to live, though, too, because we don't know about tomorrow. And I've said this before in the studio because my dad passed away about 4 years ago. And I said to my son, Colin, I go, give me a hug, buddy, because I'll tell you one thing. You know, I know Colin's going to get older, my son Colin will get older, and he'll be 15, 16. Dad, don't hug me in front of my friends. Don't give me a kiss in the forehead. Don't call me your little buddy. All right, I get it. You want to look cool in front of your friends and stuff. But there isn't a day that would go by that anybody who's lost a loved one or someone they care for wouldn't give everything in the world for one more hug. So we don't know when that last hug is. We don't know when that last hello, goodbye is. So we have to embrace life in the sense that when you give that person that hug, when you say hello to them, mean it. And of course, the rigors of life pop in and, I got to get the Starbucks and get my coffee. I got to just do that. Things get in the way. But when you can kind of clear that mechanism and take all that away, the noise of the outside world, I think sometimes you just have to do that. Just be the kid and just be the friend.
I'm
and,
still working on that part.
No,
for
we
sure.
all are. We all are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say I didn't have a childhood because I definitely did. Like I did. And,
Sure.
But for me, I think that there were like things that have been happening since I was little that I kind of grew up. Like I said before, I grew up really quick, and
Right.
I'm aware
It was
of that now.
unconventional, and you
Yes.
understand what you went through as a young child.
And at the time I was like, oh, this is normal. And then I kind of looked at everyone else and I'm like, oh, well, it's not.
Right, for sure.
And so I did grow up quickly.
Faster than other
yes.
kids might have. Right.
And so I'm a very, like I already said, but like I'm a very independent person. Like I'm pretty financially independent on myself. Like, I do things on my own, and like not to say that my parents don't help me because oh my god they do.
Well, you already kicked them out of the studio. That's independent you are. You're doing a radio show.
I felt kind of bad, but I was
No, I know.
Yeah, it makes you feel comfortable.
But you're doing a radio show. You want to feel comfortable. Like,
for sure.
how many other kids would be like, okay, mom and dad, you got to get out of the studio. Like, no, you're like, I got this. It's okay, mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know?
And
That's
they know
the
that
strong
too because I thought it
independent
was
spirit.
so sweet that your dad like just kissed you on the top of the head before he walked out. He's like, yeah, she's got it.
Yeah,
And he
he's
walked out.
So
Pretty amazing stuff.
yeah.
Well, you're inspirational.
Thank you.
I wonder if I want to touch on one more thing here. Because I look at bullying in today's school system, and you had talked about that.
Yeah.
And I wonder how Colin's going to face some of those things. We have the talks and everything, and I also don't want him to become a bully or something like that. So you try and gauge where your kid is, and my kid, like every kid, I try to explain to him, is good days and bad days in school, and you're going to meet kids that are bullies, and you're going to have a kid that's your friend one day, but then that kid wants to hang out with somebody else at the lunch table the next day. And the world that I live in, that's not a problem to me because I know how to interact with that.
Sure.
But when you're 11, when you're 15, when you're 16, interacting with that can be difficult. So what would be your recommendation for kids interacting with that bullying world, even if you want to call it the soft bullying of like, I'm not going to have lunch with today, I'm having lunch with that kid, and how they feel, you know?
I think the thing that hurts the most more than name calling or anything is exclusion. I think that that's like I would have people that would purposely plan things on days that they knew I wasn't going to be there.
Right.
Like things like that. And I think that to things like that, you have to say if they can't see you for how amazing you are, because we all are. We all have something that makes
Amazing
us
about all of us,
special.
yeah.
I think if they can't see that, then you can do better. Like you can do better for yourself. Like you can go and get new friends and you can go meet other people. And you will always meet people that will be cruel to you.
Yeah.
And you have to stop and think like, I feel bad for them. Like you have to think about what has happened in their life that has made them so rude.
That way.
Because it says more about them than you.
Exactly. And so I think and obviously it's still going to hurt. There's nothing that you can do to stop that from hurting. But you have to remember that it's usually never about you. It's usually about something else.
Right. I think I would say to parents, to myself, I speak to myself with this as well. I think we have to remember that, we're 36, we're 46, we're 50, whatever age we are and stuff. That kid, if I use my kid as the example here, they're 11. That's all they know. That's all the knowledge base they have. To them, getting the ball in soccer is everything. I've got to get the ball passed to me. I've got to do this. Or who they sit next to at the lunch table is everything. So the product of their own environment that we sometimes forget about, because we've seen the world in so many different shades and colors throughout our lives. But for a child, they've only seen the world in that microcosm that they live in. And so for them, it's very, very difficult to believe, I'll just get new friends. Oh, wait, I'm not going to have this kid in my life my whole life. Because that's right. I'm going to go to a different school and I'm going to go to a different college and I'm going to move to a different town. People are in and out of your lives like chapters of a book. They come, they go, they come, they go. And some don't come back in, some do. But it's hard for them to realize that. So I think we have to be very cognizant and aware for so many reasons, just not, talking about eating disorders and things like that and bullying, but for serious stuff here that we're talking about, that you have to be aware of what their life feels like. It's so easy for us to go, you're going to get new friends, buddy. Don't worry about it. Hey, if they're not into you, they're not into you. Move on, get somebody else. But that's not how they live. They're different. And the pain that you might have felt going through all that stuff is hard for us as adults to sometimes understand.
I think too, my mom always used to say, she was like, and she still does, but she always says like, I'm in high school, so I'm gonna use that. In high school is 4 years of your life. And I think that that's really hard, like you said, to kind of realize when you're in that situation. But I mean, for parents, I think it's so important to kind of gently remind your child, like, this is only a very tiny portion of your life. Like it might seem like the world right now, but in 20 years, it's not gonna. My friend and I have a saying about, because we stress about like grades and stuff. So we say, if it's not gonna matter in 20 years, it doesn't matter now. Things like that. Like you kind of just have to remind the people around you and your kid, or whether that's your kid or your friend or your sister. Like this isn't it. This isn't what you're made to do. This isn't like you have so many other things, and that is super hard
for the kid to understand.
To understand, of course.
Well, because you're sitting there going, all right, fine, this isn't my entire life, but yes, this is 1/3 so far of my education, 4 years in high school. Yeah, it's not your entire life, it's just 4 years. Well, it's been 30% of my life,
Right.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I think there's only so much you can kind of like do to make that easier, but I think
but being there for the kid as much as we can,
absolutely.
obviously.
I mean, I think like warning signs, like I think there's always warning signs. I mean, not just with eating disorders or anything, but like.
But with your eating disorder, I never even thought about the big baggy sweatshirt thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an enlightenment to me right there. I didn't think about that.
I've always been the type of person that doesn't like dress up. Like this is the fanciest I'm gonna get. Like I don't wear dresses. I wear jeans and things. And so it wasn't super out of the blue, but it was more like, I mean, I was a gymnast. I wore leotards and shorts. Like I was fine with that.
Right.
And so I think things like there's certain. Just look at the way that your kid walks. Look at the way that if they look at you in the eye. Look at things like that. Like those things are gonna be the major indicators of if something is wrong, if someone's bullying them, if they are developing an eating disorder, if they're depressed, like things like that. Just really, really take time to look at them. Like don't look through them, don't talk at them, talk to them and look them in the eye. That's what I'm trying to say.
No,
look
I know
them in
what
the
you're
eye
saying.
and
We
make
can
sure
hear
that
you. Yeah. You're such a smart kid.
Thank you.
You're going to do amazing things.
Thank you.
Katie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
That was awesome.
Thank
Wasn't it great?
Yeah.